Hi everyone. Today we are going to go over words 14 through 25 in the Word Masters Challenge. Your homework while you're watching the video is to pause the video after each word and create a flashcard that has the word on the front and on the back the parts of speech and definition. This parts of speech, so is it an adjective, is it a noun, is it a verb, sometimes it can be more than one, is really significant and really important. It's indispensable, to use a previous word, because it allows you to show us that you know how to use the word in a sentence. And that's a place where some of you stumbled a little bit on the last vocabulary quiz. So let's get started. The first word is a verb. It's infringe. And it's a great word that you've probably heard a lot. Infringe basically means to trespass or to violate a rule or boundary. For example, sometimes when you guys are sitting at desks, you may feel like a kid is infringing on your space when they start putting their books on your desk. Um, Here's like an example of a warning, a no trespassing sign. Another example of infringing on a boundary would be, I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can blow it up here. This player who's crossing the line of scrimmage in football, that's offsides. That's an example of infringing. Eccentric. I love the word eccentric. It's important to note that you can use it as an adjective. If you're using it as an adjective, you would say that person demonstrated some eccentric behavior. For example, some of these crazy sports fans could be considered a little eccentric, a little over the top, a little. There's that word deviate, deviating from what is considered normal or customary. And as a noun version, if you call somebody or something an eccentric, it means that a person who has an unusual personality or something that is kind of odd, peculiar, or different. Again, something that deviates from the perception of normal. And for example, Lady Gaga, seen here in her disco ball dress, often because of her outfits, is considered very eccentric. Stalemate. Stalemate is a great synonym for impasse, and it can be used as both a noun and a verb. So a stalemate is basically any situation or position in which no progress can be made, which we know is a synonym for an impasse. And a verb, to stalemate, is to create this situation where no progress can be made. So for example, if you were arguing with a classmate on how you wanted to do your group project, and you created a scenario where basically you're saying it's my way or the highway, you're stalemating those conversations. Stalemate is also used for a term in chess where there's no other possible move and the game ends in a tie, essentially. Conform. Conform is to behave in a way that is expected. Conform to the rules. It's almost the kind of like the opposite of eccentric. So if you conform, that means that you are behaving in a way that is expected or anticipated. This is a great example of, look at all of these kids. They've conformed to how the teacher wants them to look. They all look nice. They're all sitting up. They're all got their hands in their desks looking forward attentively. So conform. You may have heard the term nonconformist before. If you're a nonconformist, you tend to almost intentionally do things that are against what the rules say you should do. Peripheral. Peripheral is a very, very important word, and it is an adjective. It can be both. It is an adjective. Excuse me, and it's a minor or irrelevant based on what's being discussed is one definition. So two definitions here. So that could mean something like, for example, if we're talking about the Christmas Carol, the Undertaker who buries Marley is kind of a peripheral character. He really doesn't show up at all. He's kind of irrelevant to the story and what we're talking about. If you look at this picture, it also means describing the outer edges of something, like peripheral vision. You've all probably heard this term peripheral vision before, and let me show you. In peripheral vision, this area right here is where you're really focused on, and all of this stuff on the outer edge is your peripheral vision. And you use your peripheral vision to see the things you're not directly staring at. For example, as a referee, I've been trained to use my peripheral vision to catch penalties or infractions that I'm not looking directly at. So, for example, in this play, because of the positioning the referee has, he has the peripheral vision to see the goal as well as all of the action around the net. And you can see this back referee with his arm here is positioning himself to have a wider peripheral vision to catch any penalties that might happen after the goal. Influx. I mean, essentially, it's just the act of flowing in. An influx is, it usually means in large numbers. For example, on Black Friday and in the malls in general around this time of year, there is an influx of people that flow into the stores. You may have felt like on the last Tuesday before Thanksgiving break, you had an influx of tests and an influx of assignments due. They also use it to mean, for example, like at the Super Bowl, there's an influx of people, tourists that come into the city, so it's really good for the economy. Encumber. Encumber means to get in the way of or to hinder. It means basically to interfere with. So, for example, you may encumber somebody else's learning by being really talkative or disruptive during class. I know that can be frustrating for some of you. It also means to burden or weigh down. So, for example, Marley, as pictured here in a play version, is encumbered by chains. They burdened him. They weigh him down. If your friend told you a secret and they said you can't tell anybody, but you knew you should tell somebody, that could really encumber you, and it could kind of weigh you down symbolically. Subservient. It's serving or acting as if you are beneath someone. If you're acting subservient to someone, it's almost like you feel like as if you're inferior or kind of like a lackey. For example, in this picture right here, this gentleman is clearly subservient to his kind of mean, over-aggressive, I guess kind of a jerk of a boss. So subservient means acting as if you are beneath someone. And I'm sorry, that's a typo right here. If you are acting subservient, that means it is an adjective. My apologies. So make sure you correct that. A refugee is a noun. It's a person who flees for shelter or protection from danger. And this is an example of a group of people leaving an area, probably in a time of war. In A Long Walk to Water, which I know some of you read in 6th grade, it involves refugees and people leaving and fleeing from their current situation to look for safety. Expunge. Expunge is to blot or wipe out or obliterate. So basically you're talking about erasing or getting rid of something. For example, after someone's convicted of or found innocent of a crime, the judge will rule that this charge be expunged from their record. And that basically means to act as if it didn't happen or to kind of just get rid of it altogether. Sheer is an important one, and again, it has multiple parts of speech, so be aware of this. Sheer, as an adjective, means transparently or almost see-through thin. For example, this fabric here would be an example of sheer fabric. Unmixed with anything else. So, for example, we drilled through 100 feet of sheer rock. I could say I spent the whole day grading 105 just sheer essays all day, just nothing else but just grading essays. And another one means unqualified or to utter something. So it's just like sheer nonsense. It's just complete unproven something, like sheer garbage. And the verb version is to deviate from a course, so to sheer off in one way or the other. Convention is a meeting or formal assembly with a specific topic or focus. For example, last week when Mr. Newmark was in as my sub, I was at a convention. And I was at a convention of English teachers, and we met with the specific topic of talking about how to help kids become better readers and writers. It also means an accepted rule or method, and the example I found online is it's a convention that we always show north at the top of a map. So here's an example of the first definition. This is actually a convention that people went to. And then when you hear convention, when we talk about conventions in grammar, that also means things that we've just accepted as normal, things that we've accepted as rules that we follow when writing to be proper. All right, thank you very much for your time. I hope you found this helpful. On the front of the card, please make sure you have the word. On the back, the parts of speech and definitions. Also, don't forget, there is a Quizlet available. It is on Ning, and it is on Twitter as well, so please make sure to take advantage of that, and I look forward to working with you on this set of words. Thank you.